not sure she has any legal standing after abandoning them and allowing Lisa to adopt them. I genuinely don't know if I'm doing the right thing, and I keep second-guessing myself because while I think Sarah's sudden desire to be a mother again is probably more about her guilt than genuine concern for what's best for Jake and Emma, I wonder if I'm depriving them of the opportunity to have a relationship with their biological mother. So Reddit, Ida for supporting my kids' decision to refuse contact with their biological mother, or should I be encouraging them to give her a chance? Update 1. Quick update for those following along, because things have developed in ways I didn't expect and I could use additional perspective on how we're handling Sarah's continued attempts to insert herself into our family's life. After reading through your thoughtful comments, I decided to schedule consultations with both a family attorney and a therapist specializing in adoption issues, because I wanted to ensure I was approaching this with Jake and Emma's best interests in mind rather than just reacting emotionally. The legal consultation was incredibly enlightening and a huge relief because the attorney confirmed what many of you suggested, that Sarah's legal rights as a parent were effectively terminated when she abandoned the children and Lisa was able to adopt them without requiring Sarah's consent. In our state, parental rights can be terminated for abandonment when a parent has had no contact for more than a year and failed to provide financial support, both of which clearly applied to Sarah. Practically, this means Sarah has no legal standing to demand visitation or custody, and any attempt to challenge the adoption would require her to prove she was prevented from maintaining contact against her will, which obviously isn't the case since she chose to leave and made no effort to stay in touch. I called Sarah to have a direct conversation about the reality of the situation, hoping that if I explained the legal facts and the children's preferences, she might accept that pursuing this further would be futile and potentially harmful. The conversation didn't go as hoped, but it provided insight into Sarah's mindset. When I explained that adoption had legally terminated her parental rights, Sarah became upset and accused me of using legal technicalities to keep her away from her children, as if the adoption was some bureaucratic trick rather than a natural consequence of her abandonment. What became clear is that Sarah has constructed a narrative about her departure that minimizes her responsibility and maximizes external factors like her friend's advice and mental health struggles. She kept referring to leaving as something that happened to her rather than a choice she made, and seemed genuinely surprised there would be lasting consequences. She also had unrealistic expectations about rebuilding relationships with Jake and Emma, talking about wanting to take them on trips and help with college planning as if the last 9 years had been a brief interruption rather than the majority of their conscious memories. When I explained both children were clear about not wanting contact and that I would respect their wishes, Sarah broke down crying, saying she understood their anger but was a different person now and deserved a chance to prove she could be the mother they needed. Instead of continuing to threaten legal action, Sarah asked if there might be some way to communicate with Jake and Emma indirectly, perhaps through letters or phone calls, that would allow her to apologize without forcing face-to-face meetings they didn't want. I told her I would discuss this with Lisa and the kids, making it clear any communication would be entirely voluntary and could stop any time if it became uncomfortable. When I brought this up with Jake and Emma, their reactions were different but equally strong. After several family discussions and a therapy session, Emma decided she would be willing to accept Sarah's phone number and perhaps talk occasionally, but only if Sarah understood this didn't mean Emma wanted a relationship or was open to in-person meetings. Jake remained firmly opposed to any contact, and I made it clear to Sarah that she needed to respect his decision completely. So yesterday, I gave Sarah Emma's phone number and Jake decided to give his number as well, though he was explicit that he wasn't promising to answer calls and might change his mind anytime. I also